This is the Aftermarket Radio Network.
Welcome to another episode of Diagnosing the Aftermarket A to Z. You know, guys, it's no secret we're facing a technician shortage, and Napa Autocare is addressing that. The free 2-year apprentice program offers a variety of training to produce a technician with 3 ASE certifications. To learn more, members can visit member.napaautocare.com. Today's guest, I'm very excited to have on one of my very, very favorite people, and I'm not just saying that because he's looking at me through my computer screen, but legitimately one of the nicest guys I've ever met. And because I'm in this profession, I got to meet him and at different trade shows. His name's Chris Cloutier. Did I say that correct?
Cloutier. It's all right.
Cloutier. Okay.
Yeah.
Chris Cloutier. It must be very French.
Very French. All I can say in France.
Yeah. Well, he is the owner of Golden Rule Autocare, and he's also the founder and owner of Autotext. He's on the cover of Ratchet and Wrench at least once.
I don't know how that happened.
And the more I'm talking about you, the more like a failure I'm starting to feel.
No, I'm on your show, man. I'm on your show.
But Autotext, because of that, you're involved in a lot of other technologies, and you're just kind of the ultimate entrepreneur. You're a musician. Man, I could just keep going. This is gonna be like one of those introductions and some training classes where the instructor spends a half an hour discussing their life.
Right? I appreciate that. I appreciate that, Matt. Thank you for the intro that, by the way, I don't live up to at all. I didn't end up on the cover. I don't know how that happened. But you know what, Matt? It's Christmas. So you know what I'm going to say to you? Merry Christmas, brother. And thanks for having me on your show.
Humbug to you, Chris.
Bah humbug. All right.
I'm actually glad you said that. It is Christmas time. And the reason I responded with bah humbug is I have nothing against Christmas. It's by far my favorite holiday, even more than Arbor Day. But nice. I was thinking one day about the word humbug, and most of us recognize that word from either we read the novel A Christmas Carol, or we've watched one of 35 different versions of it on TV or movies. And of course, Ebenezer Scrooge says bah humbug a lot, and it unfortunately gets twisted into thinking it's something anti-Christmas. And it's really more description of deceit or fake. So he's not bah humbugging the holiday itself. He's bah humbugging the fakeness of people that this time of year we're going to be our best selves and goodwill towards men and all that. And it doesn't carry over at all the rest of the year, if it even really carries over at all or is involved at all at that time of year. So you're saying the words, you're not really doing it or backing it up with actions, or the actions are meager. And I find that interesting because I sometimes, and I won't say sometimes, I see it a lot at the front counter with customers at various shops, or listening to shop owners, managers, technicians, service advisors talking about dealing with clients. And sometimes I feel like in normal conversation, they would say the right words, how important the customers are. But man, when it comes down to actions and really how they feel, it's not necessarily the case. It's almost like taking customers for granted.
Just to kind of go with this concept, what you're saying is their face is saying one thing and their actions are saying one thing, but their words are portraying a totally different perspective. Is basically what you're saying, right? The thought inside might be anger as a shop owner or disgruntled shop owner, but then they put a smiley face and happy face on.
Try hard to put the smiley face on, but I'm not sure how well it comes off. But certainly try. And some are, like anything, some are better than others. But yeah, I think it's like, I'm going to use a term that's associated with something else. So it's maybe dangerous, but it's almost like microaggressions. And people pick up on it. Customers pick up on it. Where, they're smiling at me and they're kind of stroking my ego or whatever they're doing, telling me how much they appreciate my business, but it's almost like I'm annoying them. And then
Matt, there's a good book, and it's funny you're talking about this. And I'm an avid reader. There's this new book I just got. It's called Rare Leadership in the Workplace. And it's a very short book, and I'm almost done with it. And interestingly enough, it's about culture. It's about your actions and how you treat people. And kind of the concept is that a good leader is a mature leader, and a mature leader follows joy and not fear. So that's interesting, right? So I think you're right. How many people are actually following the concept of joy in their life versus fear in their life? And think about this, with the changing tide of technology and new cars and the whole face of the industry, is the owner caught up in the fear of what's the change to come that they're not willing to embrace?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of fears as a shop owner, as a manager. If you're one of those managers that has, some of these words, I'm not sure how much I like them, but power over what the day-to-day is. There's a lot of responsibilities. There's a lot of plates to keep spinning, a lot of people to try to appease, both working under the roof of the business and outside of the business.
Right.
I think you start getting jaded and you start remembering the quote unquote bad client, which I'm not sure, those are probably far fewer and far between than they're
1 in 1,000. Yeah. I mean, honestly, they're very few and far between.
Every one of them that's ever yelled at you or cried or slammed their fist on the counter may not actually be a bad customer. They're just trying to get you to make things right or explain yourself, come clean. They're sensing something.
They just want to be heard. Yeah. You said this, and Matt, I think you're right. Like and it's funny. I'm nice. When I go out and see you at shows, I'm in a different element. So I'm not under the gun of, the deadlines for software, or I'm not having to worry about the angry customer or the one job that went wrong or the part that's wrong. The different elements, I'm a lot nicer outside of my work elements. But my people, and it's funny, and I'm not just saying your customers, but your employees notice as well. They notice and they pick up when you come in, and they know when I'm having a bad day. I can smile and I can say, hey Matt, how's it going today? How are you doing? And then I go back in my office, and without that, I mean, it happens every time. I'll have them come back and say, hey, is everything okay? And I'm like, how did you figure that out? Like, I came in with a perfect acting. But it goes back to, I think you're bah humbug. I'm liking where you're going with this, man. I think I'm agreeing with you.
Mark that on a calendar or something.
All right. It's good. It's a good concept. I didn't know where you were going at first. I was thinking you just hated Christmas.
No, I adore it.
But you don't. So we're good. We're at least on the same playing field there.
I kid you not, man. It's my favorite. I just have very fond memories from childhood. That magic, Santa Claus, the whole thing, bought into it. Another, I kid you not, maybe dangerous to say, not much of a church person, but I loved going on Christmas Eve. And I don't singing, but I love music, and I loved listening to the, in there it's hymns. We call them Christmas music or whatever.
It's worship, praise. Dude, absolutely.
Came upon a midnight clear, and it was always packed. So you had this full range. And I would just hide in the back of the balcony. Yeah, back to that. Also, I'm thinking about managers too. If you're the manager who has the office who's kind of away from the front counter, your service advisors, your customer service representatives, your whoever's the point of sale, they don't come get you when we got the most ecstatic client here. They are so happy with what we did and what we charged them and all that. Like, they want to talk to you. They want to talk, tell everyone how great their experience was. That never happens. It's always like, we got Mr. Smith here. He wants to talk to a manager. And then you get lit into, and maybe you don't even know fully what was going on or what happened. And it's not, and I'm not saying it happens all the time, but that's what you remember. And that's pretty much what dominates your encounters at the front counter.
And it dominates your day too, Matt. I would, in this book too, I got to read this. This is wonderful. You'll like this, right? This is kind of the premise of the book. The guy says, to be a great leader, you need to remain relational, act like yourself, return to joy, and endure hardship well. That's one thing that is very hard for us to do, is endure hardship well. And he goes on, and it's interesting, Matt, he goes on to say, okay, when everything's going good, are you this person? And then when crap hits the fan, do you turn into a complete a-hole? Because you're not yourself. I mean, if you are a mature self and you go, okay, no, it's just a temporary problem, we're going to get through this. Or do you fly off the handle? And he calls it like sandbox leadership. But it's hard, right, to endure the long pain, suffering that we have to sometimes.
It's hard, and it's not like we don't know about it. It's not like like it's something new and this new trend and how society is evolved or devolved that we now react to things this certain way. No, we've seen this demonstrated year after year after year after year in sports. You've got teams that the locker room is trash and they're losing.
Trash. No morals. Everybody,
and it's trash. Yeah. And then that same team, maybe a different coach, maybe a couple of different players, whatever. And all of a sudden, it's not trash anymore. And they're winning. And I'm not saying they're winning because now the locker room's so great. It's usually the opposite. So we know about this, and because of that, we should know how to take steps to prevent our locker rooms from becoming trash. And because something didn't go right, we had a bad day, something went bad with a client. One of those days where just nothing seems to go right. Parts, whether you get them or not, they're right, they're wrong. They're not,
right.
They're broken out of the box, boxed wrong. Tech messes up, makes an honest mistake, but it just keeps compiling and just seems to tank everybody. And it's like, we should know better.
There's another great book that I'll have to recommend, and it's called Unaffendable. Now, it is written by a Christian DJ, and he wrote this book. And the concept is, you shouldn't be offended at anything, right? As a Christian, and whether or not you are, if you live by the tenements of Christianity, you're not supposed to be offended, right? I mean, Jesus, you don't judge people, right? But we judge everybody. But his concept is, it's funny, we tend to say, that's so surprising. And he's like, take your, the couple that got a divorce, and after they get a divorce, you're sitting there with your wife and you go, man, that's so surprising, they got a divorce. But then if you really reflect back at the path that those two people took, it's not surprising at all. Like, they hated each other. They fought all the time. Every time you're at a party, they're throwing wine at each other. They're leaving angry. Like, the buildup's been going on forever. But we don't say that. We go, oh, that's so surprising. And it's like, no, we should be like, yeah, that's not surprising at all. Like, most of what happens, I agree with you. Like, why do we get upset? Like, we should be able to say, you know what, I'm having a bad day today. I am, and parts are going to go wrong and other things are going to go wrong. And that's being yourself, right? But you don't have to be an a-hole, right? When you're not having a good day, you're just like, hey, give me some space, give me a little bit of time, and I'm good, right?
It plays a little bit into an idea I want to do for an episode. I'm just not sure how to put it together with statistics, and how statistics are misused so horrifically. And something called Simpson's paradox. And I'm not sure Simpson's paradox plays directly into what we're talking about, but that's what drove me into start thinking about doing something on statistics. In that, the Simpson's paradox basically is, you can have a set of statistics and with no context outside of statistics. So a story of what you're looking at, to put them into perspective, just looking at the numbers, you can come up with two different conclusions that are 180 degrees apart of one another or opposite of one another, and 100% accurate from those perspectives until you get the context. And so that's an idea. Where I'm going with this is statistical control, that, it's like we have this idea, like you're saying, surprised. it's like anything that deviates from this mean becomes surprising.
Yep. Even
though it might fall within statistical control, whatever, we're going to set up as our, high and low ends or thresholds or whatever. But we seem so surprised when it deviates just a little bit off that mean. And that could be what you're saying, or any of the suggestions made where the day isn't quite what we would expect. The flow with this client didn't go the way it would normally go. But in general, over a wide range of time, we're well within statistical control. And maybe we do have a couple of outliers here and there, which have to happen. And you're going to always start out with more outliers at the beginning of whatever management philosophy you're taking, or, assuming the shop's not doing as well as you would like. And you're going to start putting things in processes, whatever, that things are going to get tighter and tighter and better, that you're still going to have these outliers, and they allow you to continue to make improvements to the system. I can't agree with you more that, wow, that deviates off that mean a little bit, and they just like, it tanks the day, it tanks the week.
Yeah, if you think about what's really, and that's what you're saying. I mean, a big variance, right, is a surprising event. I mean, employee getting in a car wreck.
And it should be.
That's surprising. An employee passing away is surprising. But you're right. Throughout our normal day, your variance is not very big. But we do find, and I can't believe that happened again. Well, no, you can. Yep. I mean, you really can, right? I mean, come on. And we could take it to, training techs, or, the way that, I mean, we're not going to solve any of the problems overnight. We're not going to, it's going to take time. It's going to take good people. It's going to take a lot of, hey, I'm going to tell you right now, I got 4 guys within the age of 18 to 23 working for both my shops right now. And they're good. Like I'm blessed. Like, I'm like, man, I am good. They are young. Sure, they're making mistakes, but man, we are correcting them, and we're doing everything we can. Like, I tell all my young guys, Matt, I probably shouldn't. I say, look, you're going to cost me about $4,000. And most of them, every once in a while I get a guy who doesn't, but damn, I got one who was really good for a couple months, and now he's, I think he's racked up about 2,000. He goes, well, I still got 2,000 to go. And I'm like, no, that's not like your goal, but I'm not going to be surprised when you mess up, because it's what you do as a young learning technician, right? And I can't have these high expectations. And once again, that variance, like my master techs, I absolutely can. But my new people, I've got to give them grace. I've got to, and maybe, going back to this idea, instead of us finding the fear in life, going and embracing the joy, right? Having young people in your shop, having an auto repair shop in today's climate with all the things that are happening right now. I mean, we're, who is it? Bill Nalu. There's a couple of them say all this time. We're just blessed to be shop owners, right? What a blessing. And man, we're blessed to be a part of the industry that's probably going to be doing pretty well for the next, electric cars coming 10 years or 15, they're coming, but we'll adjust, but it's not coming overnight.
And I think Bill was on Carm's podcast, and they did an episode about gratefulness. And nice. And of course, I think it ties in a little bit with what we're talking about, in that I guess I grew up around my grandparents' farm implement dealership, and for whatever reason, they were very almost. I mean, when I say ecstatic, I don't want to make it sound like childish, jumping up and down, but they were they were just appreciative. Yeah, that you chose them. Not that there was farm implement dealers lining the highway like there is auto repair shops.
Yeah.
So they had a little bit, a little bit more of a trapped market, but they were still ecstatic that you chose them. You chose to bring your business to them. So awesome. That was what I grew up around, and thought that's just the way it was. And, of course, that's not normal, it turns out. So I know you don't like working on that, whatever car you go, as to not offend any car manufacturer. No, if you don't, whatever car is in your bay, like, you may not be overly overjoyed that it's this brand or this problem, but you should be grateful that there's a car there. You have a job, a career up in the front, they walk through our door. They called our phone number. They text messaged us.
Right.
They emailed us. They have all these other choices. So a little small town, Red Wing, 16,000 people. I think we have 20 plus different places that will fix a car. And they chose us.
Right.
It should be, overwhelmed or, just almost humbled. I don't know.
But I think you carry yourself like that, Matt. I mean, everybody knows your intro. We didn't do an intro on you, but obviously the influence that you have over this industry, the awards you've won of this industry and all that, you're a humble dude. You're a smart dude. You're a guy who gives to this industry. You give back to the people. And so, yeah, you could, but you're right. I mean, looking at it saying, hey, they're coming to me. Like these people are coming into my door. That's cool. Right. And I mean, I think that's awesome. Magazine cover or not, I'm honored, completely honored that I'm on a magazine cover. And I've had so many people like, oh, you're on a magazine cover. I'm like, I'm still Chris. I am still I still have lots of problems, lots of issues. Man, it did not change anything. Right. And no, I'm not getting paid all this extra money for, I've had people ask me like, how much more are you making? What? Like,
I have the same problem.
Why I didn't understand that. When I get on a magazine and I get paid because so that's fine. It's just that maybe maybe one of your episodes should be on the fame chasing society that we become, that somehow if you become an influencer, then you can make billions of dollars by having a YouTube channel. And I don't even know how to explain
how do we monetize this? Magazine covers, awards.
Right.
Hey guys, Matt here talking to you about what the Napa Autocare Center program can do for your business. You probably already know the Napa brand is the most recognized and trusted name in the automotive aftermarket industry. In fact, studies show nearly 95% of customers recognize Napa and associate it with quality parts, service, and technical expertise. So why not complete a Pro Image upgrade and take advantage of that? Pro Image is a co-branding program for the exterior and interior of your shop. On the outside, it includes the Napa colors and distinctive Napa signage. While the public may know you as a reliable, locally owned business, a Pro Image upgrade helps set your shop apart from the competition even further. It is also a visual signal to your customers and potential customers that you and Napa are partners. Most importantly, Pro Image really works. This co-branding opportunity has helped Napa Autocare centers across the country increase their car counts and sales. In fact, those that have completed the Pro Image project enjoy an average of 23% sales increase during their first year. Pro Image upgrades are also available for the interior of your shop. A Pro Image interior upgrade transforms your customer waiting area from merely utilitarian to warm and welcoming. The goal is to maintain your shop's independent identity while enhancing the customer's experience. You can get a free look at what a Pro Image exterior or interior upgrade can look like by visiting the Napa Autocare member site and clicking on the Napa Pro Image link under the Napa Pro Image tab, or contact your local Napa Auto Parts store. Your servicing Napa store can tell you more about Pro Image plus the hundreds of other reasons to become part of the Napa Autocare family, the largest network of independent auto repair shops in the country. What do you do with, first as a leader, you have to change your own mindset, right? And is that enough to really start buying into it? Maybe almost to the point of, putting some sort of an affirmation on the bathroom mirror or something that.
Man, I was about to say, dude, I am a big affirmation person. I am, dude. It's funny. I'm teaching my daughters about affirmations, right? I use them. I have in my wallet. I have a couple affirmations every time I open my wallet. I don't see them, but they're in there and I know they're there. And, when I do this, and I don't carry cash much, but I'll see them, right? It reminds me of there. It was something that Jim Carrey used to do, right? When he was waiting tables, he used to have the affirmation in his wallet to say, I'm going to be this famous actor. So I've got my goals in there. And then, I've told my daughters, the cue cards, they read at night. Because if you think about it, what happens throughout the day is that negative self-talk comes in and it kills us. And it kills us as people, as leaders, as husbands, as fathers, once again, we're human. So mistakes are common, right? They're not the exception. They're the rule. We're mistake-ridden people. Like, I am surprised that anything works in this world. I mean, when you start taking things apart and, you're like, really? I mean, from all the way working in fast food, when I used to work in fast food, I'm like, oh my God, I'm surprised that works to anything. And I'm not saying there's not some organizations you get into that really have it going on, but I mean, that self-doubt when you start, getting into your day and man, you make one mistake and you're like, crap, I did that again. And then, man, the next thing. And then by the end of the day, your butt is so kicked that you're defeated. And you don't want to start the next day. So I think you're absolutely right. Affirmation, man, I have posters on the wall that I print out all over my house that have, different sayings and affirmations. I'm a big believer. And I believe, that's people have to start with know thyself, right? What brings you joy? And I'm going to tell you this, Matt, that's a question I think a lot of people don't ask themselves is what brings you joy? Are you willing? And it's not that hard. I mean, how many times do you sit down and you write down, hey, here's all the things that bring me joy? I'd say that most people don't do it, right? And they kind of know, but then they do all these things in the week that don't really bring them joy. and then they wonder why the hell that they aren't very happy, right? I mean, and it's not that simple. I mean, my God, it's, trust me. I mean, we all struggle with this, right? I mean, we struggle with it, but at least I agree with the concept of, you got to start somewhere. And if that's positive self-talk, it's not a stupid, athletes do it. High execs do it. Successful people use affirmations and they use them constantly. Right.
I don't want to go on tangents. I don't think this is much of one, but it just follows what I tell my kids, because I feel like they've been sold a line of BS at school where, find something you love to do and you'll never work a day in your life. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you need to go find anything and do it, although that's not a horrible idea. And, follow the money, follow what's going to enable you to be able to do what you truly enjoy. Because what you really, really enjoy doing, what brings you joy, may not be able to be monetized. Yeah, my son, he's
absolutely true.
Big into he wants to be like Forged in Fire. He wants to. I don't want to say so much a blacksmith, but like a bladesmith. He's looking at schools for it, and I'm, it's like now his mother and I are divorced. Now you got this bad polar thing going on, polar opposites, where she's super supportive. And I'm like, dude, you think you're going to go get a degree and then you're just going to go get a job forging knives? Like that just seems wildly, like very low probabilities. However, why not aim at something that pays the bills and allows you to build your, workshop forge?
I'm about to pull out the Bible, dude. I'm going to tell, and you're like, God, dog it, Chris pulling out the Bible. Because that's what because it's another good book. But I'm going to give you this, and this is the one. This is what I tell. This drives me because I'm one of those people who does all kinds of things, right? I mean, I own a software company, I own auto repair shops, and it says, man does not know what good will come. When the clouds are full, they pour out rain upon the earth. Whether a tree falls in the south or to the north, wherever it falls, there shall it lie. One who pays heed to the wind will not sow, and one who watches the clouds will never reap. Just as you know not how the breath of life fashions the human frame in the mother's womb, so you not know the work of God, which he is accomplishing in the universe. In the morning, sow your seed, and in the evening, let not your hand be idle, for you know not which of the two will be successful, or whether both alike will turn out well. To me, that's a powerful one, Ecclesiastes. But like, what says that he can't go learn how to forge knives, but then he also learns engineering, right? I mean, so I played music, Matt. But the whole time I was playing music, you know what my parents told me? Go get a degree. And I'm like, nah, I'll be a rock star. You don't understand. Like, I've got it all planned out. It's going to work so well. I mean, but they're like, get a degree, Chris. We don't care. Go be a rock star the rest of your life. Get a degree. I'm like, okay. So it took me a long time to get a degree. We don't have to discuss that.
because David Grohl is one of the very, 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 very few to make
Very few. He's the exception.
Yeah.
Right. The rule is we lose. I mean, you had the thing on Metallica. There's another one that is the exception. Most musicians will never. I mean, I played in front of all kinds of people, but you can't make a living doing it. So I'm glad that they pushed me and said, Chris, look, you could do both. And my parents always said, look, go play in a band and go work. But so the whole time I was playing a band, I was working. I got my degree. I started working in software. And all that creativity I had from in the band days, it's interesting because I got to bring it all over to auto repair and software and all this stuff. I mean, so it's kind of funny, the whole Steve Jobs, and not that I'm comparing myself anywhere close, but just the way stars connect sometimes, right, in your life. I don't not want to play guitar because I find joy in playing guitar, but the realistic expectation is I'm never going to make more than $20 a gig, and there's other ways that I can fulfill myself and still find joy. And that's, and works. I mean, business is hard, but I love it, right? I love it. That's what I love. I love being an entrepreneur because it's still creative. It's still allowing me to do things that are creative and fulfill my mind.
Yeah, and put yourself in the best position that if you were going to make it as a guitar player or whatever, a band member in a band, that would happen.
Brian May from Queen was a brain surgeon, astrophysicist.
Yeah, he's got papers though. Yeah,
astrophysicist.
He's written papers.
Yeah. So who says you can't? And that once again, and I think in the Bible, it's a great verse, right? I mean, you're given an opportunity, whether you believe or not, doesn't matter. You're given an opportunity. What are you doing with the opportunity, right? I mean, if you're a Gary Vee listener, we like Gary Vee. Gary Vee's, you're 1 in 4 trillion that you're even here. Your chance is 1 in 4 trillion. You won the lottery if you're on this earth.
Yeah.
What are you going to do with it?
My dad was a rural carrier. He did it mainly because of the money, and even more so, we're little kids, the benefits.
Nice.
It turns out, he didn't like sitting in a car for 4 hours a day, putzing around from mailbox to mailbox, but he did like helping people, or how much people really appreciated, maybe not in the first year, but over the years, especially when the subs would come in, how much they appreciated their mail coming on time, taken care of, and then he would go the extra mile. So instead of, like, a lot of them would, if you had packages or whatever, they'd just lay them on the mailbox or stuff them in the mailbox or lay them under the mailbox. He would bring them up to the house and set them somewhere before he had to really worry about people stealing stuff like they do nowadays, unfortunately.
Right.
But they would appreciate that. And that turned out that's what brought joy to this job, and on top of that, it allowed him to provide, whatever life for his family.
And his kids, that was it. His family brought him joy, right? And taking care of it. My dad did the same, man. His family brought him joy. So he was an engineer, electrical engineer, and every morning he got up at the same time, put on the same suit, drove the same hour to the job, came home. I mean, it was like clockwork, man. And I was like, how can he do this? Like, this is not, I thought he was, from a different world. And then I realized, no, I mean, his joy was taking care of his family. And he found things in his job that he liked, right? I mean, there's no question. And we're all different, right? I mean, we're all, thank God we're all different.
Some of us more different than others. Right. But I would not call myself a car guy. If you asked me about, whatever muscle cars or whatever exotic cars or my favorite cars, it just never really appealed to me. But problem solving, puzzles, that's what I live for.
I do too. Yep.
And it's almost like the actual repair means very, very little to me. There's very little interest on my end of performing the repair, take it apart, put it back together. I don't get a whole lot out of that. But if I can figure out what's wrong and why and do it in whatever conjured time frame as I've made up or somebody else has made up for me, that I get a rise out of. And then learning new stuff.
Absolutely.
Technologies or I guess, it'd just be technologies like, the EEPROM stuff and circuit board stuff is very intriguing to me. I'm not good at it at all, but it's very entertaining. And freaking Tanner Brandt, that jerk, he's messaging me about some new technology for tire pressure monitoring, and now it's taken over my life. Thanks a lot, Tanner.
Tanner, he does that. Yeah. That's what that guy does.
I was sleeping all night.
Does.
Not anymore.
Nice. Back to the ball humbug. I'm going to say, is ball humbug a bad thing? Is it a good thing? I'm going to, once again, I think I'm going to agree and say it is a reality of some days you're going to be ball humbug. And I think, like you go back to say, sometimes that's okay. I think sometimes that's an okay answer, right? And I think as humans, we are, once again, we're all over. We're actually not surprised. We're all over the place. Like, I mean, you read the paper. Yeah, everybody reads the paper. I mean, is it really that? Is it really that surprising? As soon as we got, people could go out and gather in crowds that they gather in crowds. No, because we're human nature. People like to be around people. Like, that's never going to change. So how we're like surprised, like, oh my God, like, why are people wanting to be around people? Since the beginning of time, people collected. They created tribes, and tribes grew into nations. And, no, I'm not saying we don't war and we don't not like the other tribes, but even when we're sitting there talking about the other tribe, we're like, we don't like them, but we're talking to our friends in our tribe about the tribe we don't like, right? So I know thyself, find that, I would say, find the joy, and once again, if you're not, and this is tough. And I also consult, I help business guys, and, people ask me questions. I don't mind asking questions, but, a lot of times too, people take this. It's funny what you said is, if you do something you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And I'm like, no, I actually work a crap ton. Like, I work all the freaking, like, anybody who tells you that an entrepreneur or business owner doesn't work, I'm sorry. You be prepared for 60, 70, 80 hours. And people are like, what? You work on Saturday and Sunday? I'm like, I work evenings. I work when the work has, there's no boss telling you what to do when you got to do it. You just got to do it. But once again, part of my joy is look, I like the freedom to be able to work all the time. I mean, it's sick, right? But at least I'm free. And I could say I don't want to work all the time too, but I like learning about new stuff. I like challenging myself. I like figuring things out. I mean, trying to get a Tesla right now. I'm trying to get a Tesla for my shops to figure out how we can take it apart and rebuild it, and take it apart and rebuild it. And my God, they're expensive. And one guy just blew one up on the news because the battery cost $21,000. So I'm like, crap. And then I end up blowing one up, which is cool because he got a lot of views on his YouTube channel, I think. So, there's always that. That could be my influencer video that I start with, but I like that too. So there's lots of opportunities, and I find joy in the opportunities I think that are out there. But not to say that I don't get, dude, some days I am the windshield. I'm the bug, I'm the windshield.
Yeah, and
so
that's what
it's both.
I mean, that's what drives you. And there's some, I don't want to say the polar opposite, because there's the ones that worked however long. I don't think the time frame is important. They worked X amount of time to build whatever it is. We're auto repair, involved in auto repair shops. You're an owner. That we're talking primarily about that. There's nothing wrong with, you work really, really hard to build it up to this point of where now it runs on its own. And then you're that owner that can now either pursue other interests, and maybe they're entrepreneurial, and some of them, maybe it's just, one of my favorite shop owners, his dream, and I believe he attained it, his dream was to get the shop to the point where him and his wife could buy a really, really nice truck and a really, really nice camper, pull behind camper, and
that's awesome.
Just basically go in a circle of the United States visiting grandkids. That was the goal, because his kids,
that's awesome.
Yeah, the kids did a shotgun flatter pattern all over the country for whatever reasons.
Nice.
And they never get to see the grandkids.
Nice.
So what he wanted to do was, let's get it built up and whatever processes and people and stuff set up, that I'm going to buy this really nice truck. I'm going to get this really, really nice camper. And we're just going to go in a circle around the United States until we can't anymore. I mean, that's great. That's right?
That's awesome. I think what happens too much too, Matt, is nobody likes the term keeping up with the Joneses. And as you ask, everybody in the industry, you keep up with the Joneses, you're going to have a lot of people say, no, heck no, I don't care. But look, we're competitive. I like to win. So if I've got one shop and some guy has 3 shops, I'm like, all right, I want 3 shops, right? I want 4 shops so I can have one more than that guy, right? So you get in these rooms and you get all these type A, that we shouldn't do that, right? And I say that as don't ever play me against any game, because I'll throw the Monopoly board at you if I lose. I'll throw the deck of cards, but we get in this comparing ourselves based off of success, and that criteria, and then puts expectations on us. I think that's great, right? When somebody knows themselves and they're like, man, this is what we want to do. It doesn't need to be 10 shops. It could be 1. And that's, as long as it's good, I'm good.
The only thing I would throw in, it's not like cautionary. I think it's just, if we go back in time a ways, pre-mass media, or even, I don't know if internet would necessarily be the right thing, but around that time, from that time and back, you had your neighbors, and maybe it wasn't even so much competitive, like I want to be better, but I think Dr. Brett Weinstein uses this as an example that you live in the country, you're a farmer, and I'm not saying a cash cropper necessarily, but maybe you are. It doesn't matter. But you're growing whatever, corn, and you are doing about 1 bushel an acre. Your neighbor is doing 2 bushels an acre. What is he doing different than I am? Has he got better ground than me? I mean, we're right next to each other, and maybe you start watching, and there is competitiveness. Right. Maybe you want more than 2 bushels an acre, but man, you would like to at least have 2 bushels an acre. And I think that's normal and super healthy. The only thing that the cautionary part would be is now we live in a day and age where we have this big piece of glass in front of us, maybe not actual glass, but a screen via television or social media, computers, and we get to see a lot of people and what they're doing. Or at least what they want to tell us they're doing, or let us think they're doing.
Amen, brother.
So now you get in this weird competition, or you feel like you're not keeping up. A lot like reading off your bio. No. Making me feel like a failure.
Not fair, not fair. Hold on. You say the first 40 years of my life, I set the bar really low so I could trip over the next 40 years. Damn it. I've already accelerated it too much. I mean, I've got still 40 more. I got 30 years left or 31 years left to go. So I need to slow down. I'm setting the bar too high already. First 40, I set it really low, Matt. I have no pedigree before in the first 40. So.
Luckily, you're only 41. So,
yeah. Well, a couple years older, but that's all right.
Yeah, you can get caught in a bad spot trying to compete with something that's either not realistic or not real. Period. Conjured for your viewing,
right?
Or you don't know the details, and it's not realistic to be competitive with that. That there's stuff worth compete or keeping up with, and then I agree, tremendous motivator, and then why we kind of denounce it or shun it, really, I don't understand. We live in a weird time.
No, that's a great we do, and that's a great point. You're right that the social media has accelerated our exposure to what other people have, and it's once again, it's funny. I struggled with winning for a long time because I'm not as bad a winner as I used to be when I was young, but I was really bad because I was raised in a Catholic family of 6, so our dad didn't let us win anything. So we fought to win. Luckily, and then for a while there, I'm like, Lord, I don't want to win anymore. And then I stopped trying to win, and then I was super unhappy. Like, this sucks. And then the Lord's like, no, look, Chris, you can win. Just win for yourself. Don't gloat and don't understand why it's okay. Winning's okay. It's how you win. Right. And so I think you're right. you can sit in a 20 group with 19 other people, shop owners, and man, you can share your experiences. And once again, I appreciate being on like your radio show. I think it's cool that what you've done in the industry and the experiences you've shared, because you're touching other people, right? You're like, you could covet what you have and the knowledge you have, or you could go out and you could help the industry and you could help other people. And a lot of times you don't understand the ripples in the wave that happen, right? So, sitting in a 20 group and then being able to talk to other people or be able to share ideas, or, I think that's a good place to be, right? It's the envy that comes in, I think, that starts to tear us apart when we become envious of others. But I'm human, dude. I'm going to tell you, there are things that I get envious of sometimes, and I got to stop myself and say, stop. Like, what are you doing? Like, that's their life. Like, your life is like, and just going back to being thankful just for what you have, but just going back to like what you said about your parents, just them being thankful what they, what they had and the people walking through the door. And we forget that too quick and too easy because we're watching all these things on the social media screen that tell us we need to be better, bigger, sexier, on more magazine covers. A
repercussion of not having a lot of really any scripting to this is ideas pop into my head, and I should go research it more. But it's kind of that Wizard of Oz effect, where Dorothy.
Absolutely. That's another good theme. You should be writing your themes down as you go through your shows. You should have a notepad next to you.
I should do. Grow up is
sure.
one of them. No. Wizard of Oz, you could argue, I think you could make a strong argument, Dorothy goes crazy trying to get out of her situation. And maybe it was all dreams 100%. Or whatever, but she kind of went off the deep end. And through this tremendous journey, only to get back to the end and realize that if she wanted to find that joy or contentness, she really, if you don't find it in your, backyard, you're looking in the wrong place, or you're not looking through the right lenses. Step back.
Right.
It's probably too close. You probably got to step back a little bit and really start processing things. And I think that's what we keep coming back to is this oftentimes self-imposed pressure now translating into how you're interacting with those that enable you to have everything provided everything you get is from your business, which I think most shop owners are.
Sure.
That the only reason the building's there is because the client's walking in the door. And as a technician, the only reason you're paying your bills and getting that paycheck, redistribution of wealth is from your boss or the owner is because of the people walking through that door. And I think we just forget that way, way, way too often.
We do. You're a music guy, Soundgarden. There's a great line in what is it? The grass is always greener because that's where the dogs are, crapping, right? And and it's a great line, right? I mean, it's a great song, and it's like, oh man, yeah. I mean, it's the truth. Sometimes, oh man, it looks better over there, and then you jump over the fence, you're like, crap.
Yep.
There's crap everywhere, right? Damn it, that's why the grass is so green. But stepping back, I think is tough. Man, it's funny. I been feeling under the weather these last couple of days. Hey, still trying to have a Merry Christmas, but the good thing is I need to reflect. It's the end of the year to think about goals and everything and read and you kind of reflect and set new goals for next year and stuff like that. So it's funny. It almost takes me getting sick to do that though, Matt. You know what I'm saying? Like if I wasn't feeling under the weather, I would find the 10 important things that need to be done, or the 10 urgent things that need to be done. And the important things, which is me reflecting and looking at goals, God has a funny way of working things and sometimes slowing me down. Cause I think you're right, man. It's just not easy sometimes to sit back and reflect on what we do and don't have, right?
Depending on, the level of sickness, but just enough where you're not doing much work. You get the
my mind's slowed down. When I get sick, I get a fog, so it's slow. I can have like one.
Yeah, see, but that's normal for me, and so you're probably not as sick as you think.
No, I usually have like 18 voices in my head, so one voice is good. One voice is really good.
but you license yourself for that time. Legitimately, I'm sick. I I can't do this, but now I have time to just let my mind wander. And that's when you're doing the reflection, right? Like I told somebody once that, they're like, why don't you own your own shop? Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, cause all the employees would hate me because they'd walk by my office if my office had a window and they'd see me in my chair spinning in a circle, staring at the ceiling. Why? Because I can't afford to go to the amusement park, but because I would just be staring at the ceiling thinking, what would it look like to do this? What would it take to do this?
Yeah.
Why not? And then who do I need to call? Right. Is this one of those calls you call the accountant, or who do I call about?
Right.
That's what I would be doing. And then they'd be.
That's okay, Matt. So if you think that our life is any different than what you just described, man, you just summarized the entrepreneur in one statement: sitting in chairs, spinning around, staring at the ceiling. That is what we all do. That's wonderful. I've never had it put that way towards me.
That's what I would do.
I'm going to use that, man.
Yeah.
I'm going to use that.
That's what I would be doing a lot. I know this is definitely a tangent, but I just can't not ask about it.
What's that?
I really am interested in the cameras and videoing for not micromanaging, but just knowing and kind of where that's at. And then an idea you and I were talking about a while ago about what is the feasibility of it. And then I think addressing some of the repercussions of or where it could go bad. But first of all, you have a system, at least beta stage.
Yeah.
Where you're kind of videoing bays. And I guess I'll just let you take over from there because I don't want to assume to what detail. But I thought it was mainly about more or less the bay production rather than what the tech's actually doing and following the tech around.
That's absolutely it, right? And that's step one is the bay productivity, how long a car sits in bay, which bay it's in, and if it's been in multiple bays, and then taking that and comparing it to your work order times, to your check-in times, to your diagnosing times. And like you said, not necessarily micromanaging the process, but just understanding the process better. I think anytime that you get numbers involved or the whole, old saying that you can't manage what you can't measure. So we talk about bay productivity, and a lot of times we have all these other numbers that we go by, but we don't just have this real raw number, which is really how much this bay is being utilized and how much idle time it has, how much car idle time it has, because what we do is we tend to, and you know how this goes, a day gets busy and your mind forgets this happens with anybody and everybody. Whether your day gets busy, your mind goes and time goes by fast. So your mind speeds up, everything goes by fast. When you're excited, things go by fast. When you're having fun, things go by fast, right? This is a natural thing that we lose track of time. It's just the way we're wired, right? And there's all kinds of psychology behind it. Doesn't matter. So a lot of times we have a misconception about what's actually happening in our base. So the initial thought is to track the vehicle times via cameras. And we looked at like short range frequency, like RFID, short range frequency, like toll tag, toll readers and all this other stuff. But there's equipment costs with that, which we find that the object recognition with cameras now has gotten so good that we can use a couple cameras in the base now to start dialing in. And it's looking for a license plate, but now we've progressed the technology where we can look at the make and model if we don't see the license plate, and we could look at the color, the make, and the model, and then we can match it up with the inventory, in the system, right? So if you've got a white Ford F-150 and we can't read the license plate, well, you only have one Ford white 150, so we can tag the vehicle and say, okay, well, this is the vehicle that you have in your inventory right now. So here's how we're looking at the inventory. So that's kind of the first progression, but it will get to technician, right? Because one of the other problems you have is technician clocking on and off on buttons. And I'm a button, like I've built software on buttons when people pressing buttons, but it's all wrong, right? I mean, pressing buttons is horribly, it's horrible. Computers and mouses, and they're the most malformed, the QWERTY keyboard's the stupidest thing that was ever invented. God bless the person who invented it, the mouse. So taking that and gritting the natural, hey, you go move on the vehicle. And once you're on the vehicle, I'm not saying you're not still clocking on and off the job, but what if we can say, look, total body time on this car was, hour, and, you only clocked 10 minutes and you're in, or whatever, or, you left the timer running and you clocked 2 hours and you told your boss, no, I was only on there for an hour. And he says, no, that's been sitting in there for a couple hours. And the camera says, no, actually body time is only an hour. Right. So it's truth in numbers and data and getting, I think, to more granular level of bay management. And that's what it really goes down to. I think we're going to be able to fine tune the processes in our shops to this very, high level, and high level, low level, whatever you want to call it, where we're really dialing in on efficiencies and productivities, which is funny. We talk about that. Okay, well, the world's broken and everything like that. But, have you watched the movie Founder?
Yes.
You're a Six Sigma guy, right? And you watch the movie Founder where the guys set up the McDonald's and they're on the tennis court and they're moving around the fryers and it's a beautiful scene of efficiency, right? So, what can you do with the data to make your shop more efficient? Because we know that we need to get cars in and out as quickly as we can. We know that you can't build more building. It's hard to build more building. So how can we become more productive and efficient? Got to be careful with any technology. It can be bad. Social media wasn't made to be bad. Right?
Yeah.
It just turned into something that unfortunately is bad. But the initial thing was, guy was trying to rate women online, right? I think that was the initial concept was, not rating women and men. I think that's what was it. But so I think you're right. There's a danger there, an inherent danger that could happen, but it's it's in the power of the beholder, right?
I don't even need my microphone on for this because you're hitting everything I would have came up with a question or a comment, and which is awesome for me. Social media, of course, it was not created to be inherently bad. It was put people in touch. We just didn't understand the repercussions of the tribalism. And then the algorithms written to just keep your attention longer. That's how they made their money, was with your attention. No, they didn't. Nobody predicted that. And it worked, and it worked really, really well. And
way beyond what they expected. Yeah.
All this data, depending on who's making the decisions based off that data, is it the one who like the founders? Or at least the McDonald's brothers? Are we going to take this data and try to make everyone's life easier? Or, within the work environment and our clients, what is going to make that customer experience the best it possibly could be and give them the most bang for their buck, the most value for their time and money investing in us and our services? And the natural I shouldn't say the natural repercussions, the natural consequences or the natural flow of that would be to streamline everything that goes on the front of house, the back of house, how they interact. And it fundamentally should become a very, very, very good thing for everybody, because now you have somebody in management using this data to remove obstacles from whatever productivity. We could go on and on listing off all these different examples of how they could make things better and remove obstacles. Or is it going to be leveraged against everybody? This is I'm going to use this data to leverage it against you as an employee or a customer, mainly the employees. Then I'm not saying it's evil. It's just not being used the way it was probably intended when it was designed. And long-term, if you're thinking long-term, that it wouldn't be the way you'd want to use that data for increasing your business or growing your business or improving your business, that this leverage thing is not going to work the way you think it does. And, darn it, back to the freaking statistics I go.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm on one on statistics, but dang it.
No, I think you can throw anything back in somebody's face, right? And in this industry, and I was just at the ADAPT conference. It was interesting, right? About the OEMs were on the stage saying, look, the ADAS systems that you're having to deal with. Sorry, ADAS isn't a thing. It's a lot of things. But these systems, as you use them, right, you're going to have to go through step by step again to make sure everything that goes back, right? So you're not just changing out a radiator anymore. You're having to make sure that all step by step these things are being processed or they're being followed. Matt, didn't we just create an industry that throws everything out of the window, and we pay them on the fact that they can zip those 4 bolts, snap those 2 hoses, and get that thing done in 20 minutes and book times 2 hours so they can get on the next job? Good data, bad data, I don't know. I mean, I would say that we've kind of used that to ourselves, to our own disadvantage of what's coming in the future. So anything can be used for bad. Once again, I need you efficient, right? And I need you to knock jobs out as quickly as possible. And that might be what's going to end up biting the crap out of us in the next 10 years. Because we've looked at things wrong, where we should have been just saying, hey, let's get the job done. Let's get a job done right. We should all be charging $250 an hour labor. We should all have, parts margins at X number, and we should be seen as a profession like we talk about and everybody talks about all the time versus, anybody can fix your car, no. So the data could be used for bad. It could be used for micromanaging. It could be used to beat you up. But I guess what I'm saying is efficiency and productivity data is used all the time to beat technicians up all the time. And a lot of them will quit. I've had guys who were fast and they were horrible and they don't last very long. I've got guys who are thorough. They're not the fastest, but man, they don't have comebacks, and I would hire 10 of them. I'm okay with that because I want the job done. I don't know. There's sacrifices we make. So yeah, it could be used for bad. Hopefully it'll be used to, like you said, move the widget, through the factory that much quicker, right? And we can find our bottlenecks, and we can find this is how Amazon gets you the widget from wherever to your house overnight. And sometimes within hours now, it's all, logistics of making sure you're seeing the whole picture and holistically, there's no guessing. Everything's tracked from the time that widget is, conceived to the time that it's delivered, and everything's managed, tracked, and we like that. We live in a society where we like things, to happen quickly. Unlike the person I saw on Facebook today that's sitting at a barbecue restaurant for 2 hours, and they said they had to get on a plane. And like, is it worth it? And I'm thinking, no, man, get on the plane. Why are you waiting 2 hours?
It'd have to be really good.
Yeah, if you listen to me and Carm's show, we go off on tangents all the time too. It's what I do.
Kind of like what you were mentioning earlier with the beast we've created, this monster we've created, or the bed we've made and we're laying in, that a lot of times we like to compare ourselves and relate ourselves to the medical profession. And it's not a bad comparison for the most part. Like, you could get into some details that, it falls apart, but there's a lot of things that do a really nice, they parallel well.
I was thinking more like lawyers, Matt, but we could say doctors. I was thinking more like the lawyer profession, but that doctor.
You want a certain level of production, the doctors, they're supposed to see, it would be maybe a general practice. I think for the most part, they kind of want them to see at least 4 patients an hour. Okay. Roughly. And some may be different, but it's a kind of a range. But the things they do that we do not, and it's playing right into the ADOS stuff and growing off of ADOS, is documentation. We don't document squat. And we get this technology. Auto Text Me makes it easy to document, which sounds like a freaking commercial. I'm sorry, but it's the truth. It's true, right?
Sure.
And there's other systems out there that also allow you to document easier. And they're going to continue to improve to make it easier and easier and get more and more in there, and team with various shop management systems that they, integrate to a certain degree, or enough that, again, this documentation can get easier and faster. But we're so not used to doing it. Like, it never occurs to anybody to walk out to the car, walk around it with a camera, take a snap a photo of a dent or a scratch, and then get into the vehicle, start it up, take a picture of the instrument cluster with all the lights that are on, because you know what's going to happen. You're going to run it in, and you're going to do whatever you're going to do. And then you're going to hand it off to the next tech for the next job, or you're going to park it. And then, hey, my check engine light was on. I don't think it was on when I dropped it off. And then you go to the tech, like, hey, did you notice the check engine light was on? Dude, I don't remember what I had for lunch. Like, and there you sit.
Correct.
And so we're just so not used to doing any of that, much less ADAS. This is the equipment I used. Here's a photo of the setup. Here's the before and the afters of, what I'm aiming the radar. So here's the measurements before calibration, after calibration. And I had to, twist this adjustment a quarter, turn to the right, brought it into spec, pictures of the brackets that were good, whatever it may be, that you're just stacking the odds in your favor, that if anything would ever go sideways, that, in front of a jury of your peers, you can say, look, you're covered. As best you can. If you end up in court, it's costing you money no matter what. But you did your due diligence, and most likely you're going to leave okay. And we're so not used to it. And yet the medical profession, document.
So I just, and I'm a technology guy, Matt. So I think anything that helps us any way that we can to once again, be able to dissect the process and even document the process, right? Every time you get in car come in, you get pictures of the car. With the technology, things can get better, and things are going to get better, right? And as we find more things that we want to pull out of it, it will. People have been using cameras in their base a long time now to document body damage, right? Oh, that didn't have a ding in there. Well, let's go rewind the camera and let's show you that actually it did, right? So what can you do with the pictures every time, the car comes in real time and you snap a couple pictures, from this bay, watching software, once again, I think there's a lot of possibilities of where it could go or what it's going to be. It's just one of those evolutions I think that we're going to get to, right? As I think we're just, my opinion, I'm not going to be able to grow my buildings that much bigger. I just got to make them, in my opinion, and one of the reasons why I created AutoTextMe is all about productivity and efficiency, and not just for the technician, for the whole enterprise, the whole back end, front end office, everybody communicating, being on the same page, everybody understanding what's going on, everybody collaborating, everybody, that's the whole kind of digital revolution. I think that not just our industry's experience, but a lot of industries are experience is just that, software now gives you this insight with all these tools that we've just never had before. When we were going and researching all this stuff for Baywatcher, man, it was cool. We were looking at these buildings, and they'd have these mock-up buildings, and in them they'd have these devices that people would wear. They come in and check in whatever their little shortwave frequency, and so they know in the building where you're at any given time, how many steps you've taken, and this is manufacturing type stuff, right? So they're knowing you think Jasper engine, they're counting steps, they're counting down to accurate precision of how many times that you actually, there's 7 footsteps on the ground, but actually you took 8 because, we've got this precision stuff. It's insane what you can get. And I'm not saying that you can't play whack-a-mole or some of the stuff can't go overboard. It certainly can. But once again, I just think getting to the point where we have this ability with software and the tools and the whole object recognition with driverless and all that, we can start using it once again, just for ourselves and our base to help us be a little more productive and efficient. Happens where a car has been in the base for 14 hours and my guys aren't aware, and I got a 2-hour ticket on it. I'm not going to go beat anybody up on that, but I want you to, are you aware of that? Do you know that? Do you understand that? Do you understand that this is happening? Because that's an important thing, right? If you're nope, we understand it's been here, we can't get a hold of the owner, we're trying to do this, okay, 14 hours and we've charged $0. I have every right as a business owner to make money so I can, like you said, share the wealth or whatever wealth distribution, so I can pay you a paycheck, so I can keep the lights on the building, so I can pay rent on the building. I have every right to be able to charge somebody as soon as a car drives to my property. But is everybody seeing that, right? Does everybody see the cost of that not happening? And I think sometimes it's just easy to slip, and it's not that anybody has any malintent.
Yeah, no, I just think that could be so powerful, especially at the employee level. So the Baywatcher by itself, I mean, that's a big leap from where we've come. And then the next step, watching techs, however, and not for the micromanagement, not for the leveraging against them, but the break room is situated quite a ways from where the workers are. And generally, it's not an issue. However, you can track whatever Fridays as a shop, as an owner or manager, you bring in the good donuts. Okay. And you could see every Friday, everybody's steps go up and that they're making the trek to the break room maybe a couple times. And that's not to say stop buying donuts. Okay. But it's to take into account now this, if we're going to talk like Deming here, if we're going to speak Deming language, that would be a common cause. That is right. An aberration or whatever anomaly of the system. The system is broke. Not broke, but it's a consequence of the system. Right. I don't want to say the system's broken. It's a consequence of the layout of the building and the fact that you brought in something that everybody likes. They know they're there. Maybe they put it off for a while, but finally it's overwhelming. They go make the trek up. They find a reason to go up, grab a donut, come back. And maybe the answer isn't so much don't buy donuts, it's bring them into the shop.
Yeah, put them on there.
Or I know what your favorite donuts are, so I will buy them specifically and I will set them on your toolbox. Something like that.
I think you could be okay. I'm not a gamer anymore. I'm not. I used to be a gamer, and so I play video games. And I remember the last video game I played, and it was like a Dungeon and Dragon video game. I forget what it's called. It was cool. Yeah, it was a good one. No, I did play Final Fantasy up to Final Fantasy 7, but it was good. Final Fantasy 7 was good. But this was you could have your wizards and your thieves and it was like you'd have a couple of them and it was cool. And I can't remember, it wasn't Bard's Tale, but doesn't matter. But way back when I played video games, I'd spend a weekend playing video game, Final Fantasy 7, I played, all the time. But then one thing happened was they started tallying the time that you spent playing, and that was probably the worst thing that I think video game makers did was put the time in, because I remember, and I was with, my wife, we didn't have kids yet, but I remember sitting there and I was playing this game and I was up late, and of course I'm tired, I'm at work and everything. And I look at how many hours I had done and I'm like, oh my God, what could I have been doing with this time? So I swear, I'm done. I am no more. I can't do any more. And sure, I still played video games. We might well, but it was like one of those things where you're like, oh crap! I didn't realize it until it was pointed out to me. I'm like, okay, now I still play video games. Me and my daughters play Wii. We play, Smash Brothers. We play, the other things. But I'm now much more aware of my 3,000 hours and 2 weeks of video game playing, addiction, borderline addiction.
I feel that 120 hours was a small price to pay to breed the golden chocobo so that I could get Knights of the Round. So
nice, yes, yes.
But I guess my rant,
that is awesome.
My rant there about the donuts wasn't so much to micromanage and how you should change it to keep production up.
That's a great reference.
It's lighthearted, but also it wasn't so much if production is that important, that's what you could do rather than stop bringing in the donuts, or understand. And I think that's back to that Deming thing. Understand that this is a common cause. Therefore, there's really not much. You would have to change the system. Hence, bringing the donuts to the toolbox would be changing the system, or you just accept that. Okay, this is what's going to happen, and I am okay with that because the payoff is different. Maybe it does end up monetary anyways, but also, shop environment, employee appreciation, how happy everybody is, joy in work, that goes up, and that is yes, they can take a few more steps and lose a few minutes,
Right. You can always, people who run businesses, right? We can be good people and live in, in what's in that concept of appreciation and joy and what our people do. And you still put boundaries. It's not like you're happy when things go wrong. I believe in, setting boundaries and goals and all that stuff. And I believe in, if somebody does something wrong, you correct them. But, there's certainly leeway and understanding. If your guys are producing, a high productivity efficiency rate, and your shop's grossing a high percentage and netting your goal, then, dude, I'm bringing donuts every Friday.
Yes.
Go back 4 times, right? I'm not going to worry about that, because when you're using what you have and the time that you have, you're using it effectively, efficiently, and productively, right? So I'm not going to necessarily beat it up, but a lot of times I think that as owners, like, we don't necessarily look at. We're not, our people are a reflection of us. They absolutely are, but we throw our people under the bus all the time, and we don't look at actually ourselves and what we've done to cause or create the situation, or, like you said, remove the roadblocks, or increase or help increase productivity. The technician who's been asking for the same tool over and over, week after week after week, because he says, "Look, I can't do this job. It just takes me so long." And then the shop owner's like, "Just suck it up, Buttercup," and it's a $30 tool. I mean, why would you, you should go buy your own tool. Go buy the guy a tool. Freaking, the guy spits out 4 more cars extra a week because you buy him a $30 tool. Man, to me, that is a no-brainer. But so I think, once again, people can, depending on the type of leader that you have, there's good leaders and bad leaders, right? So hopefully the information for Base Watcher will be used to increase productivity. And here's the thing. I always say this, Matt, too, about technology. Like a digital inspection doesn't make your shop faster, better, or greater, right? I mean, if you're a great shop and you have paper write-ups, you got great technicians, like, great. I mean, like, technology helps accentuate the environment that you create. It can help translate things quicker. It can help move. People are the most important asset that we always have in our business, and they are the most important asset we will always have in our business. And I don't even think robots, what happens when the checkout person at Walmart flashes red? You get pissed off. You got to have the person come over and be nice to you and go fix it, right? So we like people. We like interaction with people. I just think technology, and we watch the way that it's used, it's helped increase, our satisfaction. And whether that's true or not, right? I mean, we get things a lot faster.
I think it has. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's caveats, but in general, technology has improved everybody's life. Everybody's quality of life has gone up. And I'm not making a blanket statement here. I fully understand the caveats involved with some people have lost jobs because of technology. And don't get me wrong. I totally aware of that.
The overall standard of living has absolutely, we can fly anywhere now for vacations. We can get on rocket ships now and go fly around space. We can, if you got the money, and in 10 years, shoot, you and I'll be able to go
I think so.
Right? Yep. That's pretty cool. Like, I want to go fly in space. I want to experience 0 G's, dude. I am Star Wars, dude, I'm all about, look, I even like the first 3. I like, Jar Jar Binks. Yeah, he sucked, but I like them. I even like the last 3. I like that whole space. I like that, so you're right. I think technology it's cool. Right, the evolution. Now there are caveats and there's evils that come along with it. Once again, the algorithms that keep you attached to the screen, right? And the people who developed that didn't do it out of malintent. They did it because that was their product. They're like, hey, we need to keep people on the screen a lot longer because that's how we get more dollars, right?
You want proof that technology is awesome? Go watch Ghostbusters Afterlife. Oh my God,
I did. It was a good one. Dude, him coming back and I was
smiling.
Cool,
the kids are crying.
Yeah.
But I am smiling because I'm so glad I dodged all the spoilers. So sorry everybody that we just spoiled it for you, suckers, but I'm so happy I dodged
well, we didn't really spoil anything, right?
Because when he comes on screen, I'm grinning. And it looked so good. And they got his mannerisms and just, I I'm going to have to steal it off the internet and watch it again.
So I would agree. So technology's, it's definitely, in the, the Industrial Revolution, it improved our life. I mean, energy improved. I mean, look at all the revolutions that we've gone through, right? I mean, they've, gone for the betterment of mankind. And you could argue once again against it, but we're not. There's bad, because there's inherent bad in us. So therefore we're going to make things bad. Good things are going to somehow turn into bad things, because that's just what men and women do. We just have that in us, but yeah.
Yeah, and it progresses so fast, we don't have enough time to adjust. And that's not just technology. That's quite a few things going on. But the way technology is advancing and how it's advancing, we haven't quite, I'm not sure that's the goal of everyone or whose goal it necessarily needs to be. But I think you kind of had this Star Trek type of an idea of the future where maybe not, everything's so clean and all that, but that technology enhances everyone's life where now certain things aren't required. And we're kind of told like, money and stuff like that. Like that's kind of removed. And I'm not saying that's where we should go at all. I'm just saying that with the way technology is going, that it takes more and more tasks out of people's hands, especially like repetitive type things. And those are usually jobs that were easily attained and paid decent, enough to. And now they might be going away. We haven't adjusted to how we're going to handle that. And I think we're going to have a lot of follies in trying to deal with that. And hopefully we get it figured out. But again, you can't overstate the general level of quality of life is extremely good. Agree. And if you don't think so,
yeah, as far as longevity of living too.
If you don't think so, leave the country for, not permanently, go on a vacation, but don't go to somewhere nice. All right. Go to a third world country and then come back and say, we got it so bad. Technology is, it's done a lot of good.
I agree.
That's probably a good way to close this out. I can tell your voice is starting to.
Yeah, man. Dude, the later it gets, the more my, I just get run down.
I run too.
It's good. It's been a great conversation, man. That was an easy hour and a half.
I really, really enjoyed this. I can't tell you how much I enjoyed this, man. And I hope to have you on again.
Man, I'll be back. We'll do it again, Matt. Hey, brother.
Merry Christmas to you too. Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's to you, and it's been a pleasure, brother.
All right, sounds good, man.
You've been listening to Matt Fanslow, diagnosing the aftermarket A to Z on the Aftermarket Radio Network. Follow Matt on your favorite listening app. He's very interested in what you have to say. Let him know what you'd like him to cover and come on the show. Matt is all for advancing the aftermarket. Find Matt Fanslow on social media and connect or on aftermarketradionetwork.com.